In the intricate world of watch investments, understanding the market's nuances and the art of valuation is key. Grasping market trends, the importance of rarity and exclusivity, guides in recognizing watches with potential for higher appreciation. Assessing a watch's condition, its history, and the brand's heritage are vital in understanding its value. Research is pivotal. Using online forums, auction house records, and appraisal services provide essential insights. These tools can help in navigating market dynamics, predicting future values, and assessing the watch's standing in the global market. However, watch investing isn't just about passion. It's a balance of love for horology and strategic financial planning. Consider factors like insurance, proper storage, and risk mitigation strategies are essential. This journey through watch investing unveils both successes and lessons. It's a path lined with opportunities for those who seek to merge their appreciation for timeless craftsmanship with astute investment strategies. Gary, I think you said that watches are not a great investment, or at least that's the message that you've shared on panels. In your experience, have you flipped a watch? Have you sold a watch to buy another watch? Just curious, what your experience has been with valuation.
Yeah, bad. In a word. Well, yeah. I mean, I left to my own devices, I'd spend my entire retirement fund on watches, but I like being married, and so I don't. And so what that means is now that I'm, CEO emeritus of a firm instead of being the CEO of a firm, is that I don't have that big year-end bonus coming in anymore, and I have to sell to buy. I mean, even in the early days, you sell 3 to buy 1, and then you sell 3 of those to buy 1, and and then pretty soon you got 5 fantastic watches, you got nothing to wear, so you start all over again. And you buy yourself a $3,000 watch, and you kind of run the whole cycle. So no, I've bought and sold a lot of watches. As a point of pride, I'm not a flipper. I don't believe. I mean, I've had the chance. This watch that I'm wearing, I paid, I don't know what, 103,000 Swiss for a few years ago after waiting for it for 3 years, and a guy offered me 350,000 bucks for it not that long after it, and I did take it. And now the watch is worth a lot less than that because this is one of these hype watches that everyone wanted, and now they've made more, and the market that spike has come back down to some more realistic level. It's still worth more than I paid, but that's not really my thought process. So I don't, I'm not transactional. I'm not financially transactional for watches. I will confess that there was a recent watch I was offered that I bought, and I wasn't quite sure about, but I knew the moment I walked out of the store it'd be worth 2x, and so I took it. So I'm not without sin, but
sometimes you have to buy to save.
You got to spend money to make money, or as a friend of mine used to say, the less you bet, the more you lose when you win. But in any case, yeah. So it's. Sure, finances enter into it. And again, as I said earlier, I think we may be in a time, especially, with a flight to quality, if you're getting access to and buying the right watches, the right references, so-called, there's an opportunity over time for, to follow a upward trending line in terms of value, that the great watches, it's more like the car market. I think you said that earlier, Dan. It's more like the car market became a while ago, where for the right car, not Studebakers, but for Ferraris and other, and for select items, Fiat Jolly is a car I'd love to own, but they keep going up in value. That basically you can kind of build some part of your assortment of watches around that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the vintage whole thing we talked about earlier, and added to the bonus is if you have one of these timepieces, like in your family, Andy, and no hackmaster was in there. I like calling them hackmaster. That's one thing. But again, in my time, those watches weren't worth what they're worth today. And if the person's dial started getting condensation inside their Rolex or whatever the watch was back then. We swapped the dial. We sent it out to be refinished. It's just a normal thing. You didn't want to look at an ugly stained dial. Now that watch is worth almost nothing because it's just like the car thing. The car isn't kept it's not a barn find. So if you got the barn find, all that applies, and now you have that watch in your safe that everybody wants, and that fluctuates like any other market. For me, my nose is also is in what I do and independent brands, and I see a lot of people who have made a lot of money getting in early, and that's what I was speaking about earlier. How people are investing in watchmakers who are going independent and starting up behind the scenes. You don't even know what they're coming out with, and they're doing that because they love this hobby. Gary has a very bad disease. He's wearing a perpetual calendar. That pretty much tells you already everything about him. If you have a perpetual calendar, it's not. It's also like driving an old Ferrari because they have a tendency not to work correctly, and when they break, you better have. You're going to be in shock for the first time you get the bill if it's your first perpetual calendar. So the disease multiplies wherever you are across, if it's with the brands, if you're into complications, or if you're into independence for finishing, because you like this guy because all he does is he polishes the best. He's the best polisher in the whole world, and your watch gleams. And and there's another guy. He's a complication independent guy. But there's a lot of people to invest in and really come out ahead. But it's gambling like anything else. You could pick up somebody like Christian Kling, one of my favorite independents that most people don't even know his name. He just recently retired, and he didn't tell anyone he was retired. So if you have one of his few pieces that he made, boom.
Yeah. I get, of course, getting in early, that's one of those pieces of advice that sounds great, but it's like, well, how the heck do you do it, right? Mm-hmm. And I've had, good fortune. I wasn't the original owner of my Dufour, but I bought it 12 years ago. I've gotten a Crivia. I've got, a Reshepi chronometer. I've got an early Viani Antiqua, blah, blah, blah. But also, I've bought independent watches and gotten in early, and they're worth a fraction of what I paid for. So it's, how do you know? And as Dan's mentioned a couple of times, these days, independents have gotten so popular that it's guys I know and their friends who a year ahead of time are getting calls from people saying, hey, Simone Brett's making a watch and he's going to make 12 and he's getting subscribers and it's going to be, a reasonable price because he's going to basically break even to start his company. You want in. And if you're not one of the people on that message list, you're not going to get in.
So Andy, just to put that into perspective, indies have gotten so big that there's indie, just only indie brick and mortar stores, but the wait lists have gotten so long. There's middlemen now. My friends don't even answer emails. There's a middleman with the information that Gary was talking about. This gentleman, this watchmaker wherever he is, he's going to be making something in the future. Would you like to get on the list? Or I can get you one of these because a guy fell out higher up on the list and I've spoken to him and he'll let that piece go to me. So they're flipping these guys, no brick and mortar. And they're for the wealthy, who don't want to be bothered with the hassle of, hey, I sent the email to Masahiro Kokono in Japan, and it's been 3 months and nothing. I emailed 8 more times. Why doesn't this guy answer his email? Doesn't he want to make money? What's wrong with these guys? They're horrible businessmen. And he doesn't know. The guy's, he's sold out for the next 10 years with, $20 million worth of orders. He doesn't need you. And so the industry has really exploded in a good way and a bad way.
Yeah, and those watches I'm talking about, when I bought those watches, there was no indication that their value was going to go up substantially. So I think the thing is, if you're going to pursue or thinking about pursuing that route over some long period of time, it is about educating yourself and about building your relationships and your network and building your own discernment you know, that if you're fortunate and you study hard enough and you understand that not everything you buy is going to turn to gold, but that, you know, you're educating yourself. You say, you know, that Dan Spitz, I think he's onto something, and I'd like one of those.
But the cool part of this whole thing, so I guess I don't know if you're going to end it after this, Andy, is it's a personable thing with us. People travel from all over the world, and we go out to dinner with them. We develop these personal relationships. Usually this person buys whatever you're going to make next time. So as soon as someone like me gets 10 customers, it's usually, we don't need any more, because whatever I make, that person's going to buy. We develop, it's a friendship that we hang out with them. We go to their country, we go out to dinner with them. It's a small family thing. It's not big brands and just, you know, guys in suit and ties just looking to pull the money out of your pocket. I mean, you got to kind of love what I'm making, because it could take me, you know, I can only make three timepieces a year. You know, you better love what I'm freaking making. Otherwise, I really don't want you as my customer. You know, it's not really about the money, because we can find that other customer. We really do want a relationship with these people. And that's what independence, and why people fall in love with independent watchmaking, besides our story. It really is it's a wonderful, intimate, loving thing. The same as my music. When you went to a thrash metal concert, you didn't fit in with everybody else. You got there and you slam dancing where it all started, and you felt like, holy shit, there's other people just like me here going through the same shit in their lives that I'm going through, and this feels good to me. And that's the feeling I get with these people that are in the indie world. It's not about that I got to go to a store and a guy's got to tell me Daytona and steel with the tinted, slightly tan dial. They're only making 11 of those, and it has a shined gold number 12. I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, it's a dial. It's the same watch inside they've been making for 47 years. All they're doing is putting a dial on it with a different color. That has nothing to do with watchmaking whatsoever. Like, you really fell for that? So people climb that ladder now, and they have an option at the end to fall off the cliff and keep going, or they can fall in love with other human beings and what they represent in this world. In independent
Buy what you feel, buy what you love. We're going to go to our last segment.